You are listening to the audio portion of the QB Power Hour webinar series. The QB Power Hour is a free bi-weekly webinar series for accounting professionals presented by Michelle Long and Dan DeLong, who are very passionate about the industry, QuickBooks, and apps that integrate with QuickBooks. You can find out all the details about the webinar series at qbpowerhour.com. So without further ado, here's Michelle and Dan.
Hello and welcome to another edition of QB Power Hour. My name is Dan DeLong, and today we'll be talking about a second in our series of niche nuances. Today we'll be talking about the construction industry. I'm filling in for Michelle. She is on a training expedition, and so she couldn't join us today. But we do have some great guests today joining us and helping out. So we're going to just jump right in and see where this takes us today. All right. Well, as you know, Michelle Long is the main host of the QB Power Hour. She is, I call her an Intuit celebrity in the accounting space. She's the owner of Long for Success based out of Kansas City. She is a speaker, an author, co-host, obviously, of the QB Power Hour. If you want to join the Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups, she is a great person to just be around and learn from. I myself am Dan DeLong. I'm the owner of Danwit. We try to transform businesses through technology. So I'm here as more of like the tech side of things, and Michelle is here as the accounting and business professional. I've just recently finished technically editing the QBO for Dummies edition. So that should be coming out soon. And a little update on the QB Power Hour webinar series. Obviously, we're going to continue as the QB Power Hour, but we're no longer offering CPE credit. That was just a little bit of a headache to handle. I guess that's the easiest way to describe that. Obviously, our Facebook group is now changed to the QB Power Users Community. Hector and Michelle are sharing that group to join in. Our topics are going to continue to be QuickBooks tips, what's new, troubleshooting. We'll include a lot more marketing, pricing, and topics about to help accounting professionals succeed in their business. The PDF of the slides is available here. There is a handout that you can download, and always, as always, we'll put the recorded webinars up on Michelle's YouTube channel, so you can always subscribe to that and watch them recorded. Now, I did want to mention that today we do have a lot of screenshots in our presentation. So if you do download the handouts to go with that. That would be a good idea. That way you can kind of either follow along on your own or zoom in if what's being presented isn't able to be seen very well. So there's that little tip there. Whoops, I went too far. So our next episode for the QB Power Hour is we're hoping to get on Give. Give is an app that works a lot with nonprofits and social. I can't remember the terminology that he used, but social architecture, I think is the term that he used. Being able to automatically give or donate from a small business perspective. Regis CEO is an awesome individual. They won the app showdown last QB Connect, so hopefully to have him on, and that will tie really well with our niche nuance that we had with the nonprofit. How to bridge that between your nonprofit customers or clients that you might have and the nonprofit. So if you have both, that'd be even awesome to see how it happens. Hector's advanced webinars are the third Thursday of the month. They're 2 hours, and they do offer CPE for paid subscribers. There's QuickBooks VCon and Roadshow, and that's where Michelle is out and about doing her training. You can always go to qbtrainingevents.com to see what's upcoming. Now, our special guest today is Tonya Schulte. She is a 20-plus year experience in the construction industry. So, yeah, as I was posting about her joining us today, just a lot of positive feedback for Tonya herself as an expert in this particular niche. She's an advanced certified pro advisor and the co-founder of Schulte & Schulte. And what she does is she transforms small and medium commercial subcontractors, as well as offering a document management service or contract management to them. So, Tonya, is there anything I missed there?
Nope, that looks great. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, awesome! You're such a wonderful person to have on and just share your knowledge. You were at Scaling New Heights doing something similar to what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I got to be a part of a panel with 3 other awesome, amazing construction experts, and just do like this sort of surface level. Like if you're considering serving the construction industry, what are the types of things you might want to know and think about?
Awesome. So our first poll question that leads us to, do you have any construction clients? So let me just go ahead and launch that poll. All right. So that should be up there. So go ahead and answer. Do you currently have any construction clients? So Tonya, what drew you to the construction industry?
I sort of happened into it, like you said, 20 plus years ago. I was taking some initial college courses in accounting, and a friend of ours was an architect and home builder, and he knew that I was taking those courses and he needed help with this quote unquote new QuickBooks thing that he had purchased. And so I jumped in and helped him and just sort of took off from there.
Awesome. And what kept you, in the construction? Like, what didn't drive you away? Like, what do you find that you like about those types of clients?
I love that question, and it actually got brought up at Scaling in our panel as well. And my answer then is the same now. I love the people in this industry. It's a very laid back industry. They're not hard to work with. They're very hardworking. And I just love working with that sort of down to earth clientele. They're really cool to work with.
Gotcha. All right, so I'm going to close the poll here. So we have, share the results. Okay, so it looks like the majority have a few between 1 and 3 clients. So that's great. So how many clients do you have, Tonya, that in your scope, since this is your area of focus?
Yeah, we have 12 total clients, and they range everywhere from we just help them out every once in a while when they have questions and they want to call us, which is like a couple. And then we have 3, now just 4 clients where we're doing majority of their day-to-day bookkeeping. So that's kind of our mix.
Gotcha. All right.
And when I say bookkeeping, we also, for all of those guys, with the exception of one of them, offer contract management services as well. So we're kind of like their back office for all intents and purposes.
Gotcha. Now, one thing that I didn't even know is what we want to kind of talk about first, is that there's actually different types of construction clients just in general, or contractor clients. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, when you first asked me to do this, and what types of questions do I often get asked, a lot of people, knowing that we specialize in construction, will come to me and say, I have a new construction client and I would like to have your input on what software we should use for them. And I always start here because there's a lot of different softwares out there, pieces of software, and nothing is one size fits all. So we really need to start with this question when we're determining what kind of software we want to use, what kind of processes we're going to implement for them. This is kind of the very basic question you need to know when you're coming towards this construction industry. Am I going to serve the residential or the commercial industry? They're very different in their needs. Am I going to serve general contractors, or maybe stick more on the specialized trade subcontractor side of things. General contractors have a large amount of needs that they're going to be needing to pull into their accounting software. Specialized trade and subcontractors, it's more specialized as to what they'll need. So I think this is the basic question that you need to ask when you decide you want to be a trusted advisor for this type of client. And not saying that you can't serve all of these. We happen to not serve all of these. We happen to decide to niche even a little lower down, but just knowing the difference and understanding that if you are going to serve both residential and commercial, you need to probably have a couple different workflows for both of those.
Gotcha. Now, do you find that that most of your clients like grew into their own business, or did they join? Start with, it's like so and so and sons, and now the son is coming over, or does it vary?
That's a good question. It varies. So we actually do have, of those 4 that I said are our biggies, where we're kind of their back office, we do a lot for them. 2 of them are family-run businesses that have grown over quite a few years, and we're working with the second generation. So that's kind of cool. We also have one of those on that list that is brand new. He just started a year ago. So yeah, we have a kind of a mix of that, but I like that. I like that second generation thing. And we're working with the first generation too for both of them. So it's kind of cool to help those parents make that transition as they're handing stuff off to their kids.
Right. And do you find that the parents are holding on to some of their practices, and like the children are now like, let's do away with some of the old things that we've been doing?
Yeah, what's cool about that for both of those clients, and we're picky, like we're very picky about who we'll work with, and we're picky in our marketing. So we target a certain type of person that's going to come to us because we are moving towards the cloud accounting only. That's our pushing drive for our clients, is to help them get into cloud accounting. And so we have a lot of clients that come to us because of that. Like they want to move away. So part of it, I think, is that push from the younger generation that they're saying to their parents, this is great, you've built a great business, and we just want to help move it into some newer ideas and concepts. But neither one of those of the older generation, they're not against it at all. They're very much for it, and they like the idea that their business is going to continue to thrive and grow in this new era.
Gotcha. And yeah, I mean, they certainly trust they're in trusting hands by handing it off to their child, because it's almost like another baby, right? It's another baby to them that they're handing off to their own flesh and blood, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that you said that, because one of our bigger clients, you can very much feel that, especially from the mom, that she's like watched this little baby business grow, and she's very, very proud of it. So it is cool. It's cool to be a part of that.
Awesome. So you mentioned something about QuickBooks Online and going to the cloud, and there's that mindset that's out there that QuickBooks Online is not the platform for this kind of industry.
I love graphics.
I know, it just kind of fed right into it, because I was like, well, what do we put in here? But yeah, I mean, most people are the Batman in this this situation. They're like, oh no, desktop all the way, or not even QuickBooks. So talk a little bit about that kind of mindset or transition to the cloud in this kind of industry.
Yeah. So when I decided that I wanted to do this on my own, after having worked my way up into the corporate accounting departments over the last 20 years, and when I decided a few years ago to branch out and start helping people and outsourcing the service, one of the things I just immediately was drawn to was the idea of being able to do it in the cloud, of not having to drive all over where we live here in Phoenix, of being able to serve clients all over the country, maybe in different parts of the world, even if that came about. And so I just heavily dived into the QuickBooks Online side of things. And at that time, when we started doing it, of course, they didn't have the projects module, which is a big step up. But even then, there were a lot of tools that we could use. And we've kind of been on the forefront of that and on the cutting edge. And that's why I said we've been able to market to those people who want to move in that direction. And they've been told by other providers that they can't. We even, we have a CPA firm that we get a lot of referrals from because that particular firm doesn't really do anything in QuickBooks Online, but they know that we do. And so they send a lot of people our way and say, hey, these are definitely the people who can help you get it done and get it done right. Because, you know, they know that we understand job costing and WIP reports and AIA billings, and that we can see the path to getting that done in the cloud, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I remember talking to folks, you know, about, you know, there's always that mindset of, you know, QBO doesn't do job costing, right? Like, but then there's always that, well, what is your definition of job costing? You know, because if you just need to know, you know, initially, you know, just back in the golden days, of QBO, even with QBO Plus, you know, if you just needed to know the bottom line, you could do that, you know. So the question is, then becomes
profit per job.
Yeah, the question becomes like, well, what do you call job costing? So then it's just having a deeper discussion with your client with regards to what they want.
Exactly, that's a really good point, because we have one client who has been doing it for a long time. And when he first came to our firm, and he and I sat down and started talking, and we started having that kind of conversations. What is job costing to you? And he said, I've been doing this a long time, and I can see that you've been doing this a long time, and I don't need detailed job reports. I just want you to send me a profit and loss per job every month. And if it looks to me like something is off in some cost of goods sold account, I'll be able to see that, and I think this will work really well. And it has. So for him, it's just a very simple process. Other people want much more detailed reporting or need much more detailed reporting, depending on, you know, their bonding requirements and things like that. So yeah, it just depends on what the needs of the client are.
Is there any kind of client that would come to you and you would say, well, no, we can't do that, like their needs are too great?
Yeah, well, and like I said, for our particular practice, we've chosen to really be picky. When we didn't do that at the very beginning. At the very beginning, we said we will do any construction client. We'll work with any construction client. And it just didn't work as well for us in terms of internally, that it's just like you hear all the time about working within a niche. Even within the construction industry, going back to our very first topic, that there's all these different nuances to residential versus commercial, and you know, GC versus subcontractor, general contractor versus sub. So we've decided that for us, we want to work in the commercial space, because residential is a whole different animal and requires different things, and that we want to work with mostly subcontractors, although we do have some generals as well. But for us, it was a matter of just workflows, right? Like, we just wanted to be able to build out one set of workflow, and then when that right client comes to us, we're able to completely speak their language and show them a workflow from start to finish, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, depending on whether they're residential or commercial or they're general or that. So it just made it simpler for us to really hone in and focus on one thing. And I think that's a personal preference. So just knowing that there are those differences allows you to build for that and anticipate that, right?
Nice. And what kind of, you know, tips and tricks, you know, since we're talking, you know, looking at tips and tricks here, what do you find works best in QuickBooks for the construction industry?
Well, obviously the projects module was a huge step forward. In fact, when they announced it last year at QB Connect and said they wanted beta testers, we were among the first to raise our hands and say, yes, please let us beta test it.
Nice.
Yeah, and so that was really exciting for us. We were very, very excited about it. I think there are still, it's just like everything else in QBO, it has room to grow. But in terms of tips and tricks, I would say if you're working in just QBO, some things to know is that, like I said, it still has room to grow. So you can do that profit and loss type of job costing quite easily now in projects. You can see, I love the visual way that they've got it laid out, and we'll see that in some of our screenshots, and that you can see the profit and loss in a visual format. It's very nice for your clients. Excuse me. And then just know that you're not going to get like detailed level job costing reports like, say, a QuickBooks Enterprise version would offer you. So some tips and tricks that we have encountered are things like, if you want estimates versus actuals, you kind of have to build that out in the budgeting side of things. You have to, you can't do everything in projects, I guess would be my main tip.
Gotcha. I did have a question here that says, like, what is the differences between residential versus commercial in terms of bookkeeping?
That is a great question. Residential, typically when you're in the residential space, so residential versus commercial from the GC level isn't as different, although it does have nuances of difference. But I would say for us, the difference between the residential work and the commercial came not as much in the bookkeeping as it did in the overall mindset of the end user. And so the stress level of our residential GCs tended to be higher because they were dealing with a much more involved and a person who is constantly changing their mind. So there's like a higher level of change orders typically in residential when you're dealing with like custom build homes. People come in and say, this is what we're going to do. And then, oh, no, you know what? We decided we don't want to go with granite. We're going to go with marble. And so there was just a lot of constant change on the residential side. Not saying that there aren't change orders on the commercial side. There often have to be, but it's a lot less of that. And so there was a lot less time involved in us for that, too. And then, like I said, just higher stress levels on the residential side, I can be honest.
No, because of the business owner or the homeowner?
Homeowner. Yeah, and then that translates, like, everything rolls downhill. So we just found for us, because of the high level of work that was involved in those like constant changes and the other thing too, like when you're dealing with residential versus commercial, a lot of your residential clients will need, again, going back to the differences in software needs, they'll want something like Builder Trend, as a software that's out there for them, because they need to be able to give their clients a lot of options. They want to give them tile options and hardwood flooring options and paint options. So there's just a lot more, we found, there was a lot more help on the setup side of things even that took a lot of time out of our workflow and out of our day.
Gotcha. Now, I remember Intuit had a software that they acquired called Master Builder. Had you ever used that?
No.
No? Okay. Yeah, that was back in 2002, I think, was when they had originally had that. And I just remember talking to people who were in the support organizations, like, this is not QuickBooks at all. It was so different of a desktop software for that, but it was tailored specifically to that kind of industry.
For residential home building?
Yeah, well, for construction in general, for any kind of contracting type of client.
Gotcha.
All right, so that actually gives us to our next poll question, which is, what version of QuickBooks do you mostly use?
This is a good question.
So we know you're focused mostly on the cloud, but there is still something out there. There's another software out there, QuickBooks Desktop, or a combination of both.
We have a client, one of our bigger clients, that's still on the enterprise version of QuickBooks.
Mm-hmm.
Our only requirement, because like I said, we are strictly remote, so our only requirement when we're bringing on clients like that is that they have to have something like a Right Networks or their own internal server where we can log in. So.
Right. Yeah, that just, being something on site can just, it just takes so much out of your day to be on site with them, right?
Right, and we've worked with people all the way from California to Texas to New York, so that'd be impossible.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results. So yeah, it looks a lot of people here are on QuickBooks Online, 41% and 24% for desktop, and then a mixture. So you're talking to the right group, Tonya.
We can do it, guys. We can do job costing in the cloud.
Right. Okay, so that's so streamlining and automating processes. I mean, this is really speaking to becoming that transformative advisor that was the theme of Scaling New Heights. Just making things easy for not just yourself, but for your clients. So let's talk a little bit about these three things here. The WIP, which is work in progress, and the AIA stands for what again?
Architectural Institute of America, I believe.
Yeah. And billing and job costing itself. So talk a little bit about those kind of workflows that you've helped to streamline and automate those processes for your clients. And just we've got some screenshots, so just let me know to go to the next screenshot as you see fit.
Okay. That sounds good. I will say, I think let's just kind of talk briefly about what each one of these is. So work in process, anybody that's worked in manufacturing space might have heard that term as well. But it's basically just understanding, especially for your long-term projects, what work do we have in progress, what percentage are we complete on that, and then therefore understanding on an accrual basis what that means to our books and our our income statement, how that affects the income statement for the most part. And we can talk about that, but again, I just trying to do like a high level thing of how to streamline that. If that's something that your clients need, there are ways that can be done, even using cloud-based tools. And AIA billing, that's a huge thing that if you're helping your clients with that, which like I said, we are, because we do a lot of their day-to-day operational back office stuff. So if you're actually helping your client with that, or if you're wanting to give them some better tools for doing that, there are some great cloud-based tools that streamline and automate that. And if you do AIA billings for your clients, you know that that's a huge boon to have that be an automated process. And then job costing, like you said, what is job costing? There's varying levels of that, and depending on what you need, you can have tools that can take you from a real deep dive into job costing, all the way to, we just need to know the basics, and are we making a profit on every job or not? So let's go ahead and go to that first screenshot, Dan.
Oop, there, I changed the slides. Okay. All right, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this is
not
one of our this is one of our favorite tools, one of our favorite apps to add in to integrate with QuickBooks Online. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's called Notify. And we have a little test account that we play around with in our Notify Advisor portal all the time. This is our test account. And I just wanted to show you kind of, again, the overall view of how job costing works here. And one thing that you and I talked about, Dan, is just like, every different business is different. So a roofer needs different tools than a person who's laying tile, right, in their trade. So this is one tool that we use, and it's not a one-size-fit-all tool, but I just wanted to kind of give you guys some ideas as you're thinking about how you can streamline things for your clients. These are great tools. So let's talk about this one. Notify has built-in job costing. As you can see here, kind of this screenshot shows you that you can see right away what the revenue and costs are, and even like your current profit percentage. So if everything's being entered on a daily basis well in Notify, this gives your clients a really great instant picture of their profitability on jobs and what they've billed, what their costs are, and where they're at. Let's take a look at the next one too, because it's a little bit of a deeper dive.
Do you find with Notify that you would have the client live in Notify when you have them set up in this case? They would live in Notify, and then you would really just handle the QuickBooks foundational financial information, or would they be in both, or does it depend?
Yeah, I guess it could depend. I would say typically when we have a client on Notify, that you're exactly correct with your first guess. They're living here. This is basically their project management tool. And there's a lot of pieces that go into Notify that are great for them for project management. Like you can see up here, plan and track, their contract and their change orders they can see at the top up there if you're looking at that menu going across. They can upload photos, documents, RFIs. So there's a lot of project management that's happening for them in Notify. They can do scheduling and time tracking. There's a lot that we're not even diving into since we're just talking job costing. Right. But yeah, they live here, and then Notify has a two-way sync, meaning that if you enter a bill here in Notify, and then your outsourced bookkeeper pays it in QBO, you're going to see that over here in Notify. So the bill goes from Notify to QuickBooks, and the payment comes back, and a lot of things in Notify are two-way sync. So that helps everybody, both the person who's doing the project management and the person who's doing the bookkeeping has real-time information all the time.
Yeah, and then they're not forced to upgrade to QB Advanced if they have too many users, right?
Right, exactly.
Keep those costs down.
That funky little message. You could upgrade, and my clients are calling me going, I could upgrade to what? What's going on? Yeah. So yeah, no, this I just was going to show you too on this as far as like streamlining processes for them. This tool that Notify has for building this plan and track is so cool, and it can be multi-layered. They could just say, we have these three phases, which is kind of I think what this particular job looks like. But it breaks it down for them between material, labor, and subs, and it's just really simple and easy for them to get this information in here and then be constantly tracking all of that cost information, and then your profit and loss, your revenue stuff, it's all in one location that's really easy for them to see. That's one of the things I love about Notify. So visual and so pretty.
So it's not only just something that they can track the profitability, but they can also manage their contractors with, like they could assign work to someone.
Yeah, great point. Yep. So they can do all their scheduling for their internal employees, and they also can schedule subs and do a lot of work with their subcontractors through here as well in terms of project management. Yeah.
And then can they keep track of their time that way as well, and that syncs back and forth?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. Right. So a lot of really good project management and job costing capabilities going on right here.
Very cool.
Yeah. Good questions. Back to the AIA. So we were just talking kind of like job costing stuff. In terms of AIA billing, these are just a couple of screenshots of how AIA works in Notify, which again, to automate the AIA billing process is huge. And this, if you turn this feature on, it is a feature you have to turn on in Notify. It gives you the ability to set up every job as that you need to as a fixed bid with AIA billing. And then you can see on here a couple of things of note. You can set up what amount of retention needs to be held. So if you look kind of in the middle of your screen there, this particular job is set up to hold 10% retention. And then because you've already built out your plan and track, you've got your budget in there and your proposal, all that's housed here in Notify. When it comes time to bill on that particular job, it's very, very easy. As you can see down here at the bottom, everything's already built in. All you have to do is come in here to Notify and say, yep, we're 100% done on the underground phase, 20% done on the rough end phase. Let's send this invoice over. And then I think our next screenshot, Dan shows them what that invoice looks like. So it's the AIA format. If you guys are familiar with how an AIA billing looks, Notify creates this with all that information that we were putting in on the last screen. Tells them all the information that they would need on an AIA billing. And you can sign it right within Notify too. Like I signed this yesterday.
And they can do it digitally?
Yep. And they can email it out right out of Notify.
So kind of like a little DocuSign, make it easy for someone to approve the process.
Yep.
Awesome.
Absolutely. I think the next screen too is the second page, the schedule of values, the continuation sheet that often comes with AIA. So that's the way that Notify creates it. They've designed it really well, that it comes across with both pages that you would typically need in an AIA billing. I don't know how many people in here use it. We should have asked that as a poll question. How many people do AIA billings? But for us, I've done AIA billings for most of my career. And I've gone from back in the day, I was actually hand filling them in with a pencil and pen to, a lot of Excel spreadsheets down through the years. But this is so nice because I don't have to go back and forth between QuickBooks and my Excel spreadsheet. All the information is stored in one location, and all I have to do is put in the percentages I want to bill every month.
That's the nice. I mean, that'll just make your life a lot easier as well as the client.
And as I was going to say, even if you're not preparing AIA billings for your client, being able to hand them a tool as powerful as this and let them know that they can do all of their planning and tracking and all of their proposals and all their AIA billings in one tool, that's a really great thing for you as a trusted advisor to be able to hand off to your client.
Yeah, it just allows them to focus on their business, not managing their business. Take off the construction hat and put on some other hat that they're not familiar with.
Right, and so it just gives them the ability to spend less time in that second hat if they're the ones that are going to be handling all of this.
Awesome. So what are we looking at here?
Let's take a look at that. Oh yeah, so this is one more piece that I think is brilliant that is built into Notify. So if you're either doing or helping your clients prepare work in process reports, Notify's advanced job report can give you nearly everything that you need to come up with your WIP reporting. I would take, so this is straight out of Notify. This is basically like, I've kind of split it in half. You can see it goes from like A to P and then Q on. This is one report that you can download out of Notify. And for WIP reporting, there's a couple of other things that we need to add. So I just take this report and just add some extra columns to their report, but it just makes it so easy to have all of this information already within Notify in an easy to use report format that, like I said, you can download it to Excel and manipulate it as you need. And because we do WIP reporting for a lot of our clients, and when we're doing that of QuickBooks Online, it is not that simple. We have to do a lot more manipulating of the data. But within Notify, you can download this one report into a worksheet that you've already got set up. You've got your columns, your extra columns already there. You can have a WIP report done in seconds, where it might take hours trying to do it with some other tools.
Yeah, I remember talking to a couple home builders, and they wanted to use assembly items in desktop to track their work in progress, as far as the accounting side of things. And yeah, we can kind of do it that way, but probably not the best way to handle that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because people always have like all these different things that they've seen done or that they've done in the past, and that there's a lot of extra work that you can put into it. But if you have good tools like Notify, where it's already built in and you don't have to do those workarounds, that makes it really so much easier.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at this. So when we move on to this is that's Notify is a great tool, and there's a lot to be said for it. Just like we talked about, when you have those conversations with your clients, if they don't need that in-depth level of project management or job costing, projects within QBO really is wonderful in many, many ways. And so This screenshot is kind of the same as that first screenshot we were looking at in Notify, where you have that overall view of all of your jobs, what's been billed on them, what the costs are, what your current profit margin is. You even, like, if I had payroll hooked up to this particular test account, and I was running payroll through here, once I process a payroll and tie it back to each of these jobs, it would show me how many hours I had on that job on this screen. So just a lot of really good information for your construction clients that they want to know at a glance for every one of their projects. And this is, some of our clients will get all excited and come to us and they're like, I can see like real-time work in process information that you've been giving me only monthly. I can see it every day now on my projects module. Isn't that cool? So I don't know. These are the things that get an accountant excited, right?
Yeah, because I
Oh,
mean,
you can see the profit margin daily.
yeah, I mean, it's so simple that it takes a lot of worry, that I could see, because that's typically where construction people fail, is they do things by gut, right?
Wow.
And they're like, well, I think I'm billing enough, or I think this is the way my dad did it, right? But
Right.
now they can see, at a glance, like, oh, that blue line is more than the green.
Right.
That's
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. One other quick thing I wanted to point out on this screen, and I didn't do any screenshots of it, but I would suggest everybody, if you're able to, like we do, have a test account and play around in projects, the hourly cost rate that's up there in the top right-hand corner is a really cool tool. You have to, I'm not sure if you can, I'm pretty sure you can do it without setting up, we have just workers set up in there. You can play around with it, but it allows you to create burdened cost rates for every one of your employees, which is a great tool for them to use too, because back to what you were just saying, not guessing. If you can come up with a really good labor burden that you're using when you're doing your costs, that's just so helpful when they're trying to figure out, where are things going wrong, if they happen to be going wrong, or what are we doing right. So,
all right.
um,
So moving on to, this is again the
next screenshot.
yeah, so we got this is
A little bit deeper dive.
deeper dive, right?
Yep. So again, they were looking at all the jobs on that screen. Here you kind of get to dive in a little bit deeper and see for this one particular job, again, the green and the blue lines, what your profit margin is, and then how that ties out. So in the cost of goods sold line, like I said, if we had labor tied in here, that would be giving us an hourly time cost as well. So just more information about what you're doing on that job and where your costs are.
Awesome.
And then really quickly too, I just want to say that while QuickBooks Online doesn't offer that printed out AIA billing, they do have now, which is really cool as well, progress billing. So you do have the ability to create progress invoices within QuickBooks now and make those, do a progress invoice off of an estimate. So that's just another automated thing that you no longer have to do. Back in the day when we were doing this in QuickBooks Online for some of our clients, when we first started, we had all these workarounds that we had to use to do progress invoices, but we don't have to do that anymore. It's very nice to have progress invoicing built into QuickBooks Online now. Right.
And I always know when, when we release, or when Intuit would release a new feature, there's always a yay, but.
Right?
It doesn't do everything, but there's, the lion's share is now,
right,
addressed by that.
I think the next screenshot kind of speaks exactly to that, because in QuickBooks Enterprise, if I enter an estimate, I can enter a cost and a markup, and then I have my cost and my revenue all in that estimate, and then I can go in and I can pull up an estimates versus actuals report and see how we're doing. Well, in QuickBooks Online, we do have to still have some tips and tricks, some workarounds. This one I actually learned from Stacy Kildall. She's awesome. And we go in and create budgets, and you can, within QuickBooks Online, have those budgets be subdivided by customer. So you can go clear down to the project level, and then that's how you can come up with your estimates versus actual. So again, it's not like you were just saying, yay, we can do progress invoicing, but we don't have the ability yet to enter that as a cost plus markup yet and actually see it estimates versus actuals. So we have to do a little bit of work to make that happen.
So you would handle it on a budgeting aspect as opposed to, a built-in report or trying to manipulate a report or the data that's in there, right?
Yeah, there's really not a great way to get estimates versus actuals unless you go out and create a budget for every project.
Gotcha. All right. So then, company size considerations. Let's talk a little bit about that. So, when you have a smaller construction company versus larger, how does that work for you?
Yeah. You and I talked about this just a little bit, Dan. So, like I said, we have our one client that really understands his numbers, and he feels confident that he doesn't have to have super detailed reporting. It's himself. He's a small remodeler. It's himself and one other guy that works for him. So we're able to run everything out of Essentials for him because we can just run a profit and loss and subdivide it by sub-customer, and he's happy. And so that, just knowing up front, again, kind of going back to our original question, like, who are you working for? If as a trusted advisor, it makes sense to really understand the tools that you have in your own tool belt, and is that tool going to fit the needs of this particular job? And so in that case, Essentials works for him. As I said, we still do have one client who's still on QuickBooks Enterprise that we can log into their server and do stuff for them on Enterprise. And that tool fits them. They have, I think, almost 100 employees now, much more detailed job costing requirements because of their bonding requirements and things that we're working with them on. So I think the size of the company and also their needs, like what is it that they're trying to accomplish? So if you do need to have bonding and you have to have detailed work in process reports, and it's very important that, or even for company management, if your company is large enough that it's very important to management to see very detailed job costing numbers, that might play into your choice of tool to use in that situation.
Fantastic. And then another niche or nuance here is adding value-added services to your repertoire. So you do this contract management service as your firm. So tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so we actually, because I've spent 20 years in the industry, and various places that I was an employee, a W-2 employee, would say to me, hey, you're doing the accounting, but we also need you to understand when we're ordering certificates of insurance. So we're going to send you to this 2-day class so you'll understand certificates of insurance better. So I had a lot of experience that I brought with me. I knew about 20-day preliminary notices and lien waivers, and just a lot of that other side of the business besides just the accounting piece. And when we first hung out our shingle and said we'd go to work and that we would help with accounting, we would find more and more that people would say to us, well, how does this process that we're doing in accounting tie into these other processes? And finally, one of our clients came to us and said, we see how knowledgeable you are with those other aspects of our business. Would you be willing to step in and help us? And so we built out a whole workflow for them that we've now been able to add on as a value add for other clients, which includes processing their certificate, requesting their certificates of insurance, sending out their preliminary notices, helping them make sure that their lien waivers are correct before they get signed, and a lot of other things. And one of the things that I tell people often who ask me about how to add value-added services is talk to your clients. Like when you're having conversations with your clients, what are their needs? If you have a lot of clients who are struggling, like a lot of our trade clients are, with finding help, find a trusted HR partner that you can outsource work that they can help them create better employment ads. Or is that something that your firm could offer? Is there a way that your firm could step in and help them recruit? So I think Especially as we move into this new era where a lot of the accounting is more streamlined and automated, and we have a lot less data entry to do. There are ways that you can find out what are other things that your clients don't know that you can bring some expertise to the table, or is there a way that, if your firm has employees, is there a way that you could hire an HR specialist if a lot of your clients need human resources help? So it's just about, again, having those good conversations with them and being that advisor that says, either I don't know, but let me help you find the person who does, or I don't know, let me find out, or yes, we have that experience, let us help you do that other thing as well.
Yeah, and using that contractor analogy, I mean, you're almost like a general contractor at that point, where you've got all these things that you're managing for that particular client, and it could be something business related, like business forms for contractors, or even websites for contractors, those types of things that along every part of their business, you can now dive in a little bit deeper and be that kind of advisor. And not only that, you're speaking their lingo, right? So just having that kind of conversation back and forth is just going to align you more to that kind of particular client.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of this whole idea of having a niche for our Canadian folks. That's the beauty of it, is that the more that you are really focused on that industry and understanding their needs, the better you are able to help them with all their needs.
Awesome. So, Tonya, thank you for joining us today. Really a wealth of knowledge, and I really appreciate you coming on, and especially on short notice. and Matt Fulton has been helping us out with the questions. So I wanted to give him an opportunity to pipe in and say hello. And is there anything that you saw, Matt, in the questions as a recurring theme that maybe we should talk a little bit about with Tonya?
Yeah, thank you. There's actually a couple of good questions that I wasn't quite sure how to answer. One of them had to do with, can balance sheet accounts be used in budgeting with Notify? And is the budget limited to a year, or can it be run for the life of the project?
It can be run for the life of the project. So that one I can answer right away. I'm with you, Matt. I'm not sure if balance sheet accounts can be used in that budget. What would be the purpose of that? I'm wondering if maybe they're thinking in terms of like a retention.
If they want to put it into the questions, I'll be sure to bring that back up as well.
And one thing I will say, I have something in the back of my mind about that maybe that they're coming at that from a little bit different standpoint, like a home builder. Work in process, a lot of people manage that on the balance sheet, right? Instead of having it in cost of goods sold always on the income statement. So in that case, again, with no one tool being one size fit all, I think that something like co-construct or something like that might be a better tool in that case.
Okay. And then a really interesting one was, does Notify or any other QB software have ability to track change orders from vendors? Everything I've seen related to change orders functions are on the invoice customer side only. So anything that's tracking change orders on the vendor side, so it sounds like there'd be changes of purchase order, what was received, I guess.
Yeah, maybe, and there's a way to do like purchase order adjustments, obviously. I would say within Notify, if you're handling your subcontractors in Notify, there's definitely a way that you can update your plan and track and your phases for that subcontractor, and you would be able to add in a change order there. So for sure, Notify could handle that.
That's a great point. The plan and track really does a phenomenal job. And Notify, you're right. You can really you can set up what your expectations are and then just change it to exactly what you used. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Great stuff. Really, really good information. Again, we love Notify personally. That's what we use in our practice too.
Awesome.
So we have just kind of wrapping up here. So we have some upcoming webinars. Hector's advanced webinars, third Thursday of the month. They're 2 hours, CPE for paid subscribers. And coming up with the QB Power Hour, we're going to have some more niche nuances and appifying the process. I guess my spell checker did not like the word appify. So it's not applying the processes, it's appify, as Michelle honing in on that trademark. I do have another one last poll to do here. So just really, did you learn something new today? I mean, for me, you were just a wealth of knowledge, and we could probably talk for hours about this sort of thing.
Well, when you and I were talking about it, Dan, I said, thanks for asking me to talk about this, because I get excited about it. It's what I enjoy. I'm passionate about it, so it's fun to talk about.
Yeah, and it's stuff that you just kind of want to share with others, whether they want it or not, right?
Right. Yeah, my family gives me a hard time because I'll drive around town and be like, oh, I know who's doing the plumbing on that job, and I know who's doing the roofing over there, and they're like, so?
Yeah, my dad was an electrician when I was a kid, and he would do the same things. Like, I put up those lights, I put up those lights. Like,
yeah.
Great. Great, Dad, thanks.
We're excited about that. Yeah.
Yes. The things we get excited about. All right, so I'm going to close the poll, and overwhelming yes.
Awesome. I love it.
So definitely thank you so much, Tonya, for joining us today. Matt, again, thank you on last second coming in and helping out with the Q&A. Really appreciate you being flexible and willing to come in. So yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
Anytime. I love this stuff.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks for joining us today on the QB Power Hour. I really appreciate everybody coming in, and we're gonna, share this video on Michelle's YouTube. So if you did miss something and want to review it, we'll definitely have it up on the YouTube channel as well. So thanks again for joining us. Hey, thanks, Tonya. Thank you, Matt, and hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in our Facebook group. You can find those resources and much more at qbpowerhour.com.